Hola, I'm Elias Torres, co-founder and CTO of Drift. You are listening to the American Dream podcast. Did you know that Drift is part of just 2% of VC-backed startups led by Latin American founders? Well, I'm on a mission to change that. On this show, you will hear from leaders who have achieved their own version of the American Dream. We'll talk about what the process looked like to get there, the obstacles they faced along the way, and the work we still have to do to build the new face of a diverse corporate America. Bienvenidos a todos to the American Dream podcast. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Edrizio de la Cruz. Edrizio is a Dominican immigrant, a founder, and now the first Latino visiting partner at Combinator, an American technology startup accelerator, one of the most successful in the history of tech. Like me, Edrizio has achieved his version of the American Dream. Today, we're going to talk about how we got here and how more Latinos can too. So let's get into it. Edrizio, welcome to the show.
Elias, thank you so much for having me. Great to see you again.
Absolutely. Edrizio is a good hustler. I like that. You were like reaching out to me like forever, and I'm just like...
That's how it is, man. Persistence.
I love that. You know why? Because I'm not trying to be like an asshole or anything like that. It's just, I'm overwhelmed. It's just so many messages. I know that people talk about that, and I don't want to brag about it, right? But it's like, you know, I get messages on LinkedIn, I get people interested and stuff like that. I just can't, can't do it. But you kept going and you kept going. You're like, what's up? You're like LinkedIn, Twitter. And I was like, fuck, I got to respond to this guy. This guy is awesome. It's in the back of my mind. But see, it was always in the back of my mind to reply. But every time you did it as a reminder, and I never got mad. I think that people need to understand that, right? The people don't get upset if you keep messaging. It's not like you're interrupting them in the middle of the street, right? It's not like you're showing up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a message. And you do that. And we got connected. We're spending time. We're collaborating on stuff. And it's the beginning of great new things for both of us. And now we're here.
I'm excited to talk to you and kick this off. And hopefully we help some people today.
Exactly. It's inspire, show people different paths that you've taken, and encouragement to fight the good fight and to go after the American dream. So let's look at your Twitter bio. You still use Twitter?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm mostly now on LinkedIn, Instagram, but yeah.
Twitter is an entertaining place right now.
Very, very much so, especially now with Elon.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's every day is incredible what's happening in there. Yeah. But in your Twitter bio, it says you hustle hard, give back, anything's possible. What's going on here?
Yeah, I think that is a great synopsis of my personal trajectory and what I've learned over the past 25 years since I immigrated from the Dominican Republic.
What do you define by hustle?
Hustle is persistence and resilience and willingness to overcome any obstacles that are in your way and not see them as obstacles, see them as opportunities. I think on your trajectory towards success, there's going to be a number of expected, unexpected obstacles that are going to come in your way. Some of them warranted, some of them outside your control. But no matter what, it's going to be there. And you could do two things. You could complain about it, or you could see it as an opportunity to kind of continue to like level up and continue to get better. Adversity and resilience, it's like a muscle that the more you work it out, the bigger it becomes, the stronger it becomes with time.
Yeah, it just, especially on Twitter, right? There's just so much arguing and bike shading over hustling, right? And that is bad, that, you know, don't work too hard. I don't think our immigrants, we argue that we have to hustle.
That's not a luxury we have, right? We come here to the States that don't speak the language. If you immigrated, by and large, it's because you didn't have the financial resources in your home country. And you came here to achieve, you know, like you and I, like the American dream, right? And everyone has a different definition of what that dream entails. But the thing with us is that we don't have a pattern of success or a model of success that we can mirror, like a lot of our colleagues in the tech ecosystem. Like we didn't grow up seeing other tech founders or successful corporate executives. So we have to carve out on our path and figure that out on our own, which makes it very complicated because you can't be what you can't see.
You can't be what you can't see. Yeah, and it's difficult, right? It's like I've had so many role models that I kind of ignore a little bit their color or their upbringing and just trying to extract the essence. And when, in some ways, nobody's like you, right? Nobody has gone through your same exact path, and what worked for somebody else doesn't work for you. So at the end of the day, you still have to be unique and you have to forge your own success, your own American dream. Because and there's no right or wrong, necessarily, right? Unless you're SBF at FTX, But, but I think that people need to listen, right? And to a lot of people and find those role models, right? Because without it, I wouldn't be here, right? But you're right. You can't be what you can't see. I love that. Mm-hmm. So what's happened? Tell me a little bit about yourself. You came from Dominican. What year?
Yeah, I came over to the States from the Dominican Republic when I was 12. I immigrated first to the South Bronx and then moved to Harlem. I lived there until I finished high school in Queens. I went to an aviation high school. So the path was to go into aviation as an aircraft mechanic. Then joined the Air Force Reserve after that. My dream at the time was to be an airline pilot. So I was set to do 10 years in the military and become an airline pilot. I passed the ASVAB, passed the physical test, and I decided to drop out of the military to just help out my parents economically, and then took on 2 jobs as an aircraft mechanic at JFK, dropped out of college as well. And I did that like any good immigrant son, trying to repay back the debt owed to their parents. When I was 21, decided to go back to college, but no school would take me. So I wound up going to community college, which is an interesting kind of like culmination of a lot of people in different stages of life. But I just felt like I could do better. And I wound up transferring to City College at Baruch College when I was 24. So I was a little bit past everybody's prime, so to speak. But that's when I started learning about Wall Street, and I just became enamored with Wall Street. As immigrants, we see the big city lights and success. To me, Wall Street was synonymous with success and synonymous with making it. It was less about the money, more about kind of being able to achieve that next level. I wanted to be kind of front and center of what Wall Street was at the time, and to me, that was investment banking. All the teachers told me that there's no way you're going to get into investment banking. They only recruit from Ivy League schools. You are too old. You work as a mechanic. It's never been done before. But I just knocked on every door, got rejected time again. I would show up to banks without an interview, sometimes just to have coffee with somebody. I wound up interviewing with about 11 banks 3 times, so about 30 plus interviews. 2 months right before my graduation, I wound up getting an opportunity to be an intern at UBS Investment Bank. So I wound up kind of delaying my graduation by a whole year. But I knew that was going to change my life. I knew that changing my scenery from airplane mechanic to Wall Street, even as an intern, was just going to change my trajectory. And it did. I became part of a program called SEO, which focuses on helping minorities get into Wall Street. And just putting yourself in the right environment, the right ecosystem, completely changes what you think you can achieve. And that's when I kind of learned the concept of getting in the right room. You just, by virtue of surrounding yourself with success, you become success by the virtue of osmosis. It worked like magic, right?
Hold on. You're making so many pivots. It's mind-blowing. What an amazing story. Let's not get to SEO and UBS just yet. Let's go back to this pilot mechanic. When I first came, like my brother-in-law is a mailman, and everybody's like, get a job at the postal office. It has good benefits, right? That's a good thing, right? And so like I started with that advice, right? Which is it's a great job, right? You get benefits, you security, blah blah blah, right? And it's like compared to like the instability, right, of no jobs for a Latino, that's a good thing. Look at what you did, right? You were going to be a mechanic, you were going to be a pilot, and you dropped out to go help your parents. That's huge. That's huge. You have great parents, right? Because they had to be different. Like other parents don't want to voice for their pride. They don't want to voice their needs, right? Sometimes. And they also don't want to sacrifice their children, right? To help them. But you guys came for one another, right?
Yes.
And help each other. So that's a powerful story, right? A lot of people struggle because they're like, I know some people that are in school later in their years and they're like embarrassed by it, right? I like your story because it wasn't my story necessarily, but I say to people those 2 things. One, it doesn't really matter when you graduate.
No.
When I say those things, people don't understand that, right? It doesn't matter if you graduate at 30, at 40, at 50. if you found the job that you wanted, or you started the business that you wanted, or it's like, who really cares, right? Who you with? And then that you interviewed 33 times. I also say that to people, like I've learned that, right? That you just gotta, like I say to people, you can get any job you want. I've said this phrase before and people don't listen to it, right? So you can get any job you want, any company, anywhere in the world. It might not be the highest position, but you can get the job, whatever you want, just by mere of keep showing up.
Yeah, half the battle.
Somebody's gonna say, like, that persistent in itself is a winning personality. It's a winning attribute, right? And so if you just show up and you show up and you show up, you will get your foot in the door. It's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
And you proved it, to go from mechanic, to go from city college, community college, older, blah, 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 and you break into UBS. That's amazing. That's unbelievable. Yeah. From now on, when I say those things, they were kind of like unfounded. Now I'm going to be just go listen to this podcast, go meet this guy.
Yeah, definitely. It felt surreal at the time, but I didn't even think about at the time. I just knew I had to do more. I felt like I owed it to my parents who left everything behind. Not there's anything wrong with being a mechanic. I just felt like I could level up. And wherever I was, I knew that I could do more. And something happens when you achieve a certain level of success is that your belief in yourself gets reinforced by virtue of you achieving that. And it's like steps. You get to the next step, and then you feel like, oh, I have arrived here. That's great, but I know I can do more because I just did that.
Confidence is important. Sometimes I see people too overconfident, right? And they're like completely disconnected from reality, right? I feel like, which is, some of that is good, some of it I think is bad. But you have to build up. We all need confidence. I think everybody's so insecure in general, right? People don't want to accept that. But you got to use your achievements. And I would say for you, it's like dropping out of school and going back into school. That's an achievement in itself. You're going to then switch into City College. That's an achievement in itself, right? You applying and getting a job entry level. That's being part of SEO. All those things should be building your confidence.
Exactly.
And doubting on ourselves less and less. That's what we try to teach people of, like, overcoming that imposter syndrome. Once you show ability to have perseverance, when you show ability to learn, when you show intelligence to accomplish a task, the rest is just takes time and experience.
Exactly.
And finding the right models of what you want to try and do, right? I would be so overwhelmed, but the good thing is that you were young, right? In a way, not contradicting, but to go into Wall Street, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you see all these people that know all this stuff, right? And it's not like they learned it in school. I mean, they learned it on the job, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting older, but like that entering for the first time into such a world when you don't know anything about this stuff, right?
Yes.
And it's such a crazy space, right?
Yeah.
Where if you don't know something, you lose your shirt, right? Did you realize that, or?
It was very intimidating. I mean, this is the early 2000s, so It wasn't like now where you have a lot of talented people that go into tech and some talented people go into Wall Street. But basically, all the talented people went into basically Wall Street, which was the highest paying job you can get out of an undergrad. So it's extremely competitive. But I was just so enamored and obsessed with, again, not the money element, but the success element. Like, I was just hungry. I was just really hungry. And I knew you could be smarter than me. You have a better network than me. You could have a better pedigree than me. But you're not going to outrun me. You're not going to out-hustle me. And that was my attitude going in. My first summer, it was a 3-month internship. I took one day off. And every other day, I worked from 8:30 to 2 a.m. with no sweat. Like, just did it, showed up, did my best, and kept going. I just had that hunger and that fire in me, and that was my differentiator out of anybody else. I knew I wasn't going to outsmart anyone else. Everybody else had gone to an Ivy League school. I had gone to a community college. Like, there was no way that I was going to do that, but I knew I was just hungry and I had that desire. And part of it was like that I needed to do it not for me, but for like my parents and just for society, period. I felt like I needed to achieve something. And I think that helped me keep going.
People want easy answers, right, on how to do something, how to accomplish something. I think here's an easy answer. Outwork everybody, right? I think that recipe will always work, right? Especially in the times that we're in right now, of like,
Indeed.
if you have some people from MIT and Harvard, and you show up there and you work hard and you're there nonstop and you're learning and you're trying, well, you're going to learn faster. You're going to learn more,
Yes.
right? Take care of yourself. But if you do that, you're going to do well. I just don't see how someone, I love the immigrant, right? The immigrant that says, I'm going to work every day I can, right?
Yeah.
Earn this. That just wins
Exactly
the hearts of everybody, right?
Exactly
The customer, your boss, everybody, right? And you're learning. And so it's like, there's an easy answer. I'd work everybody.
Yes. The easiest key to success. That's all. That's the only thing you can control. You can't control anybody else's perception of you. You can't control who says yes, who says no, but you can control the effort that you put forth.
That's the only thing you control, right? And so, no, that's awesome. You're SEO. I feel like I've interviewed a lot of SEO people. I did not know a few back, like a few months back or something, How many, right? Who do I know? I know Terrence.
Richie.
Emmanuel
played this.
He did it with me. Right? Wow. And then Infinity Ventures.
Oh, okay. Mario. See, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
She's like, I didn't know this.
It's a small circle. We all know each other. Yeah.
It's like, I'm just going to interview everybody that went to SEO.
Yeah.
Done. Tell me a little bit about that. Just advertise that again. SEO, UBS, what happened?
So SEO was an instrumental part of my journey. And I guess the people don't know, SEO is a nonprofit organization that helps predominantly underrepresented students get into Wall Street careers like investment banking, sales and trading, and even legal. I had the offer from UBS already when I walked into the SEO interview, but I knew that I needed SEO. Something in me told me that. And then when I got into SEO, it kind of reinforced that I needed them. And then here's why. What SEO did meticulously well, better than any other organization, was they gave you a set of unwritten rules to abide by as a person of color on Wall Street. They would tell you things that nobody else would tell you, but everybody else was thinking. Things like, you show up 10 minutes early, it's on time. Like, this is how you're supposed to dress. This is how you're supposed to ask a question. This is supposed to carry yourself. This is how you speak. And all these unwritten rules seem kind of innocuous at the surface, but they're really not. They're really trying to shape you and mold you into a professional that's going to be twice as good as everybody else. Because at the end of the day, if you don't look like everybody else in any field, you're going to be deemed as a risk. And what they're trying to do is that de-risk you and let your skills shine on their own. And it took me a while to get that concept, but once it was stilled, I was able to use that and kind of use it to my advantage. Because remember, I had spent 6 years in an environment as a blue-collar aircraft mechanic, where I was showing up every day with coveralls, and everybody looked like me, and they carried themselves in a very different manner. So I now had to kind of trade my coveralls for a Brooks Brothers suit in a very white shoe environment. So I had to learn quickly things like etiquette and protocol when you are at a corporate dinner, how to dress correctly, how to speak. It took me a while to learn how to speak well. One of my first reviews from my staffer at investment banking was my accent. That they couldn't understand what I was saying. I was a Dominican kid from Harlem. I didn't know how to speak eloquently. It took me a while to do that, right? So going through that transition and being exposed to SEO was a complete game changer.
What do you think about that? Unwritten rules, is that what they call it?
That's what I call it. That's what I've learned, and that's what I've learned to apply in Silicon Valley as well, which has even less of an institutionalized endeavor towards diversity. And both you and I know that. Yeah, I just feel like as a person of color, predominantly Black or Hispanic, you're going to be looked at differently, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the only time that there's something wrong with it was when we choose to not acknowledge that those differences exist. You're
saying some deep stuff right there, right? It's like my mind is kind of twisted in a politically correct world, right? It's like there's nothing wrong. It is wrong, right? But is the reality? Is that what you're saying, or?
Yeah, it is. It is a reality. There is a reality to understand that those differences exist. Here's a quick anecdote. When I was an investment banker, summer analyst, They took us to a country club in Connecticut, and everybody was with me on the bus. I had a white collar shirt, just like I have now, and my name tag that says Edrizio, UBS, Investment Banking Summer Analyst. And I was so eager to go to the country club. As soon as the bus pulled up, I jumped out and I took off my blazer and handed it up to the coat check. And the lady behind the counter says, they're waiting for you in table 6. And I was like, I'm sorry, ma'am. Yeah, table 6 is waiting for you. Your shift started 6 minutes ago. Like, no, ma'am, I'm actually with the UBS Investment Bank. I'm one of the guests here. And then she just took the coat. And it's like, I wasn't upset. I was more shocked. It took me a while to understand this person probably hasn't been exposed to people that look like me on the other side. The people that look like me probably work with her as administrative staff or waiters or coat checkers. And she probably hasn't been exposed to that. And I was the only person of color in my entire class, right? So it takes a while to figure out that those differences exist. And it took me even a longer while to understand if she thinks like that, probably the people on my team think like that as well. And again, that's the part where I was naive to think that they're colorblind, right? But they are not. And that's what SEO teaches you. It's like the world's not colorblind. It is not perfect. That's okay. This is what you need to do to overcome those biases, right? And inherent prejudice that exists. Yeah. They're not really attacking anyone per se. They're just attacking reality, and they're arming you with the tools that you need to not only be on par, but exceed that. And I'm very thankful for that because I just apply that in every single instance throughout the rest of my career.
Absolutely. That happens to me all the time to this day, right? It's like sometimes I'm like waiting for my valet for a car, and then and they're like, they hand me the keys. So I think
you work there. Yeah.
To the valet thing. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think my philosophy I agree with you. My philosophy is really, I cannot change people. I can only change myself, right? And like how I react to things. And so how I behave, how do I act in one of those situations? But I actually kind of like the challenge. I kind of like to be there and represent us, right? In the sense of when people learn that I can be as successful as anyone else that they ever met, and be patient and not blow up at them for being like that, right? And just plugging that one person at a time, right? It's like, it's a great feeling, right? To show that we are just as capable. And
exactly.
I think that's what we do. But I don't know. It's to me, it's like I have this immigrant mentality that I had nothing where I grew up, and I was going to be nothing. I was going to be nobody, in Nicaragua. I mean, I don't know what I would be right now. I didn't have a home, and I didn't know. I could have been truly hustling, like selling this, buying this, just like surviving, like nothing, right? I don't know what my life would have been. So I came here, and just to have a home, just to be able to live, just be able to get any quick job and just have an apartment and live, right? It was easier than it could have been in my country.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm like, everything I've gotten and built, it's like icing on top. So like, this is not my country, right? I wasn't born here. Nobody owed me anything, right? I'm thankful that you can achieve an American dream, right?
Yes, amen.
So like, all these people could be upset at me, ask me to fetch things for them, store quotes, and park their cars. I'm okay. I'm doing well.
It's all good, man.
And so that's what we want to encourage people not to get stuck on those things, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just embrace it as this is just part of the journey.
And to find people that teach us, right? I think how many of those things are really important, right? How to behave at a country club, or how to act, what to say. Is that really important? I kind of hate the country clubs, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I think that the country club is a microcosm for corporate culture in America. And corporate culture could be Wall Street, it could be Silicon Valley, whatever your career path is. But I saw it as a microcosm that's exemplary of other people's mindsets in those environments. Like if this ecosystem is thinking it, this other ecosystem is also thinking it. And I'm just a lot more careful, and I just take it a lot less personal when somebody makes a comment like that, or even a comment about my accent, or a comment about where, an assumption about where I was, my desires because of how I look. It's just par for the course, right? Like, and you need to be. I think one person told me, as you need to be empathetic for the lack of empathy, and you need to understand that and help every single individual kind of.
Wow, I never thought of that. I never thought of corporate America being the country club is just the most radical simplification of corporate America.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I get it now. It's like because I grew up in corporate America without knowing what the country club looked like. Just know what a country club looks like now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But now, it's funny because a lot of people that I work with, right? Now I hear, oh, I'm a member of this country club. My parents are members. Like they grew up in that world.
Exactly.
I'm part of like this social club in Cape Cod, and I'm like the only one that looks like this. And the only reason why I got it is because like I actually know the owner of the club, right? And so like, and he called me. He's like, says, "Come in. You can have access to the restaurant and the pool, blah blah blah." But what I see happening in there now, it makes sense of the entitlement and their thinking and their perspective of people that grew up there that work in corporate America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because my upbringing is completely different.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And so now it makes sense, right? Well, it's like, oh wow, you were part of that. That's how you grew up, right?
Yes,
you had. That's all you.
It's innate. It's just part of how they behave. And when they say the old boys network, that's actually where it comes from.
Exactly. It's like everybody knows each other. They spend the entire summer together. The kids are together. They're talking about deals. They're doing stuff. They do the same activities. See the same kind of people, and so you need diversity. You need exposure, right? And to learn and to see other things because it just becomes a microcosm and that is a bubble, and you're completely isolated.
It's an echo chamber. Exactly. It's just
echo chamber, right? And so and we come with a different perspective, and so there's magic to be taken advantage there by our upbringing. If we have the right perspective, perseverance, patience, ability to learn, listen, adaptability, we need those things in order to be successful in that world, right? It's good. So tell me. So then you do UBS, you start a company. Was that straight?
I got an opportunity to go to JP Morgan. I worked there as an investment banker full time for a couple of years. A lot of my colleagues were all Ivy Leaguers. I felt at the time that in order for me to kind of continue to level up, I needed an Ivy League degree. I took the GMAT number of times. I did terribly at it. I wound up getting a 570 on my GMAT, which is pretty bad from an 800.
Wait, 570, is that for one subject or?
No, that's combined.
Combined. Okay.
And I actually,
that's not good, bro.
So the average score is 720. I did a program called MLT, which is similar to SEO, but getting minorities help getting into business school. And she told me after I took it 4 times, it's like, you know what, Edrizio, do your best and forget the rest. The GMAT is just one part of the application process. And I trusted her. I didn't quit. I applied to every school, and the only Ivy League school I applied to was Wharton because I didn't think I was good enough. But I applied. I showed up to all the pre-admissions meetings. I knew the admissions officer. And lo and behold, I got in. I was accepted, and I got an opportunity to go to Wharton in 2009. It was incredible because I got to meet so many talented people from every corner of the world, ex-entrepreneurs, politicians, doctors, PhDs. It was just, again, surrounding myself, getting in the right room, and I knew I was going to just absorb a lot of that knowledge by osmosis. And by the time I finished business school, I kind of felt empowered to take the next leap of faith, and that was, starting a tech company. Where 2 years before I thought I needed like 10 years experience. I think that was the magic of business school. Like it helps kind of reinforce a belief and a confidence in you and a boldness that you need to go and take that leap of faith.
Overconfidence.
a little bit. I think you need to be a little bit overconfident. So yeah, in 2013, I decided to start what was now Arcus, Dan Regali.
That's an interesting about. Just make sure that everybody hears this. You 570, you said?
Yeah, I got 570 on my
You
GMAT.
got into Wharton with the
Yes,
570 on the G.
I got the lowest score in that class.
Man, I love the stories, right? It's like we would be like, no, we can't do it. I forget what my GMAT score was to go into my master's, but I did really well in the math. That the math was fun. I'm not like a super math genius, but like the GMAT level math was like that's fun and easy. And I think I missed like maybe one question. What was it? Would be 400 and 400? Is that what it was? Like,
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
so I must have gotten like 380 on that. But my English wasn't that good. So my score might be around there too, because the English part of it, I don't know. Did I get 50% on that? It would be 600. I got into Harvard with a score. I got to look it up. I don't know if I can find it.
Yeah, it was the same for me. Like I did really well on the math part and the English part, just not good.
I was crushed in that one. But the math, I was like, oh, I got one wrong. Fuck. It's like, that was mad. You got into Wharton. I got into Harvard. People apply. What is it? I don't know. It's God, what is it? But you're applying to Wharton. Is it the laws? Is it equal opportunity? What is it? But you can apply and you don't have to be this fancy degrees, scores and stuff. People, our people, please apply to the schools. Please apply to the jobs. You can't sit and sulk in your home and saying you never got anything. You got to go get it.
Yeah. You got to take shots. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And
you went and started a company with the overconfidence that you were ready to start a company. You probably weren't, but you ended up being ready in the sense that you did it, right? And I want to talk more about that. In my case, you know what? I was a little bit of a, I don't know if I'm a scaredy cat, because I'm not, but I'm strategic, right? I work with David because I wanted to work with someone that had more experience. I chose to work with David as opposed to co-founding with another friend of mine that was his first time starting a company. Because I was like, my mind is like two people that never done this before. I'd rather go with somebody that has done it before, and I'm the one learning, right? You went and did it yourself from scratch. Yeah,
yes, which I recommend your path, by the way. That's a smart path.
Right? That's what I did. So I'm just,
to all the listeners.
But there's two paths, right? It's okay. Yeah. And you start one, it doesn't work out, then do try the other way, and then if not, then try back the other way. The thing is that we can have so many shots in life. It's not a one-time deal, that it's just gonna, if it fails, you're done for life. It's like, no, exciting, go try again.
Yeah, no, that is exactly right. And I think coming out of school, you have that adrenaline, you have that strength, you have the kind of that desire in the pit of your stomach to go and do something big. And I kind of wanted to capitalize on that.
Yeah,
a lot of this is naive thinking, truth be told, but I think you kind of need some of that naiveness going into a.
What do you think everybody else is doing?
Yeah,
this is the thing that people need to understand: the naivete of a, elite white person coming from a private school.
Yes,
it's the same thing.
It's exactly.
They have a bank account with their parents that support them, but they're still naive. They don't know anything. All this stuff comes out of their mouth. They have not felt what an entrepreneur has felt after years and years of building, of selling, of hiring, of firing, of fundraising, of rejection that we're all going to receive. Mm-hmm. If you're white, you're not going to, every investment is not going to say yes to you either, right? You're going to get rejection. And there's different economic classes too. But we need to all realize we all are naive when we haven't done something. It's par for the course, right?
Yes. Yeah, indeed.
So we did it, and we need that confidence. So when you start a company, how many years you worked on it?
So it started 2013, and we sold the company to MasterCard in 2021. So 8 years total.
8 years. So one thing to understand is the secret is you got to find something to focus on. You have to focus on it for longer periods of time. Find something, then focus. You did it for 8 years. Third, you got to know when to exit.
Yeah, the exit element is sometimes outside of your control and sometimes it's within your control. I think that the parts that are within your control is Y Combinator. We say it's build something people want. That's an oversimplification, but the way I interpreted that is that you need to build an expertise, a product that a select cohort of people, company, consumers, call it whatever you want, really, really want and need. I respect more the power of a niche, owning an expertise in a particular niche. No matter how unsexy it is, it's very powerful. And our company did consumer bill pay in predominantly Latin America, and that's not the most exciting segment, but we dominated that segment, and we wound up serving consumer bill pay as a platform to virtually every single
You mean
fintech bank.
like paying people's bills online?
Household bills, electricity,
Household.
gas, water, something as simple as that. We made that process easier for every Mexican resident.
That's awesome.
Via our platform.
I love that too. It's like, do not underestimate. That's another great lesson, right? Is, do you want to go into Wall Street and know everything about all of Wall Street, or you build an expertise in understanding oil in Latin America or something?
Yeah.
The more you know about that, the thing is that not everybody can know everything about everything.
Exactly.
There's so many things to learn. So if you know something and you go deep on that, right? That's the focus part of it. Then somebody will find value in it. Right?
Exactly.
At whatever level.
Yeah, exactly.
It might not be $1 billion purchase, but it might be like, well, you get higher into this other company at a great salary, or
you will always be on demand,
or you could be an investor or whatever, right? And then if what you have goes away, I'm sure that can be parlayed into something else. But being niche is very important, right?
Yeah.
Don't underestimate that. Like, oh, is this the most freshest, coolest thing that you can learn? But you knew about bill pay. I mean, like, that's awesome, right? It's like to understand consumer behavior, the methods of payment they can do, like when they can pay on time, when they're going to default. There's just so much information to be mined there, right? That a lot of people would want to know, right? It's a fantastic understanding an area where maybe bill pay is very well known and easy to build in the United States. Now it's a done thing, but it's not in Latin America, right? It's not like, it's awesome. So you did bill pay 8 years. How big was the team? How big did you get it?
When we exited, it was about 100 employees. Yeah,
that's awesome. Most people are not able to start a company. Most people are not, to get something beyond 5 people. Then you build a real company, right? Solving.
Yeah, it was sizable. We were moving billions of dollars by the time we exited. Became one of the biggest platforms in all of Latin America, and luckily found a partner in MasterCard that really believed in our vision and was squarely aligned with what we wanted to do to take it to the next level.
I love this story. You went from a dropout mechanic with the dream to building a company that exits to one of the largest financial institutions in the world, right?
Yeah.
MasterCard, for building an expertise, building a niche, right? Something that has nothing to, well, I mean, I guess it has to do with finance, but you just gotta, it's not like you learn any of that at JP Morgan.
No.
You learned that at school, at Wharton, right? None of that stuff. You had to go roll up your sleeves and
learn it on the job. Yeah, learn it on the job, and it was not a straight path. Obviously, the idea changed and morphed, and like every good entrepreneur, you pivot and adjust. But what never changed was kind of the desire to triumph, right? The desire to succeed. Because you and I both know it's never a straight path to success. It's a lot of ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys. And that desire to overcome and desire to win and achieve the dream, it's really what keeps us going,
That's awesome. You're living the American dream, right? I mean, I think and I call the American dream, there's many dreams, right? You went from being able to support your parents, help them get going, right? To getting an education, to working at UBS, JP Morgan. I mean, you got into Wall Street, right? That's a success in itself. You could have spent your whole life and make really good money, right? In Wall Street, investment banking, fantastic. Then you go into Wharton, right? Now you go from a community college to that. Then you start a company. Then you exit. Wow, it's such a fascinating journey. And now you're part of YC, right?
Yep.
And you were a YC. You were part
in 2013. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be part of YC in 2013. Back then, it was being led by Paul Graham, who founded Y Combinator. And I got to work with amazing people like Michael Siebel, like Gary Tan, who are still at YC. Gary's coming back as a president. after my exit to MasterCard, I always stayed in touch with them and joined as a visiting partner. And my role there is to just help the next generation of founders, just like I was on the other side. So it's pretty exciting just to put everything I've learned over the past 8 years into practice.
When you go into YC, do they ask you to hang their coat on it? Is it like the country club?
No. It's,
How many partners
it's great.
How many partners look?
Yeah, we're 19 partners at YC now.
How many Latinos?
I'm the only one.
That's awesome. Thank you.
No.
Thank you for representing.
Always. Gotta represent, man. Always.
In such an amazing organization, right?
It's great. I'm just learning. I'm soaking it up. I treat it like I was a first year analyst at JP Morgan, where I'm humbled to be there. I want to learn and I want to just kick ass at the same time.
You're gonna outwork everybody.
That's the goal, man. It's just I'll collaborate. Just want to help, and I know that this is not just about me. It's about everybody that comes after me, right? Everybody that looks like you and I after me. I know that however I do is representative of them as well. So I don't take that responsibility lightly. So I take it with the same approach. I have the same fire that I had in my belly, 17 years ago when I stepped into, JP Morgan. I have it now.
That's awesome. It is a big deal, right? Because I never applied to YC, right? And I respect and venerate, PG, right? He's unbelievable. What a source of wisdom and experience and all the stuff. The stuff that he has seen is just unbelievable, right? The philosophy and his way has not been lost, right? He's still that same early stage.
Yes.
Entrepreneur person, he hasn't morphed into other things. He has stayed true to this and just found his niche, right? Like you were saying. And it did never dawn on me. In a way, I see YC from a distance as a white institution, right? That I would have never be a part of it, right? But you being there and now realizing some companies I've gone through that have Latinos in it, that you are a partner now, that should be a great picture for everybody to see. It can be done, right?
Yeah.
Because, I just see PG and I see like Dropbox founders and this and whatever, right? But it's like, now I say like, you know what? We should be recommending more and more Latinos to apply and to submit their applications, to look at what other companies looked like when they were applying. Was it just an idea? Was it progress? And go for it and reach out to you, right? So they can be part of the cohort, and then someday they can be a partner, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the goal. I mean that's how you start. That's how SEO started with a first class of a few black and brown folks in the 80s in Wall Street, and now it's been systematized into Wall Street. Diversity is institutionalized into Wall Street. Hopefully one day it will be in Silicon Valley as well. And I think you and I are kind of the first generation of that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're kind of maybe first generation or something, but there's many people that we're riding on their shoulders, right?
Yes.
Latinos that have done so much stuff we didn't even know, but in tech, it's still the early days for Latinos.
Very much.
What are you doing on the side? Are you doing some writing? You know how to speak eloquently?
Yeah. That's a good callback. It's a good callback. Yeah, I've learned a lot for the past 8 years as a founder, and I just want to kind of pour all of that knowledge and just share the knowledge with people like you and I who are the underdogs, the have-nots, the people that didn't start on third base, and show them that is not an impediment to success. It's actually a propeller to success. Like it's actually it's not an obstacle, it's an opportunity. So I've been finishing a book. It's called The Underdog Founder. It'll be out next year. And in the meanwhile, I've been sharing that knowledge via my Instagram channel, which is Edrizio_startup coach. And I just try to distill all those lessons for whoever wants to listen, right? Things that I wish I knew back when I was starting out. And yeah, just want to share knowledge. I'm just passionate by that. Luckily, after, the exit, it was life-changing for me. A kid that grew up on welfare, just, being able to be at a different economic level, it's like a dream come true. And I just want to share that knowledge so that people can get there.
Absolutely. That's the whole point of this podcast, right? Is to show the success that can be had, right? If you are persistent, if you persevere and you take advantage of who you are, right? And the value that we bring to society in a different perspective. So more people are waiting for us to do this than we think of.
Yeah. Amen. Time is now.
That time is now.
Yeah. And
they need to see themselves in you. They need to see themselves being able to make all those pivots, get all these jobs, start companies, being an investment partner, writing a book. What a wonderful story. And it's just getting started. You're still as hungry as you were day one. I love that. I think one thing we need is that it's kind of hard to just like share our expertise. I love when people can ask us questions and stuff like that. So like people need to come to you and say like, sometimes we don't even know what we've learned, right? Until we get asked in the moment by somebody.
That's a very good point.
Right. And so like people need to give you their feedback so you can put this in the book, right? Mm-hmm. And you can talk about it because they're going through it and we don't even remember, right? Because it's just a blur, right? It's like what was happening at that moment in time during that situation. So please reach out to Edrizio, ask him questions, really tap into him because he's a resource. He's at YC. If you need help applying, have an idea, reach out to him.
Definitely.
He will give you extra time and care and attention to make sure that your application is top notch and encourage you to apply, right?
Of course.
To follow the dream. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Elias.
Appreciate the hustle. I love that Dominican hustle. That's awesome.
Muchas gracias, hermano.
Thanks for listening to the American Dream Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss when a new episode drops. If you like this episode, please leave a 6-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're interested in learning more about my American Dream mission, subscribe to my newsletter linked in the show notes.